what you want? And are you getting what
Welcome
you
back.
need?
No means no things. No means no necks. No means, what did I call it? No means nobodies. That's the one I
Nobodies.
settled
No
on.
means nomads?
To no means
No means nobodies.
nomads.
That's what it was.
To the no means no thing, no means nothing podcast episode, I believe 58, if we number these kind of ones. I am one of your hosts, Jordan.
I'm Matthew.
And I'm Michelle, your belle.
And today is a incredibly special episode. We are beyond thrilled to finally have on a absolute luminary. You know him and you love him. Ladies and gentlemen, John Wright. John, welcome to the program.
Hello.
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 Yeah.
Hey, it's working here. The internet is working.
Excellent. John is joining us from his home, presumably in London, British Columbia, Canada, and audio only. So bear with us because we can't see his silly face, although I have tacked a caricature of it to my monitor. We can see each other. We can't see him, so we're going to actually have to listen to him for a change.
Oh, Lord.
Lord.
I'm very disheveled, so it's very, very disheveled here.
Par for the
So
course.
it's probably for the best.
Probably for the best.
As long as you have a fanny pack and jams on, John, we're all good to go.
How did you know?
It's the uniform.
Is this camera actually working anyways?
No, but the one behind you is. The
Oh,
one we installed when we
right.
snuck into your place.
Yeah.
All we
right.
see is hair sticking up.
Yeah.
The last time you were all here gracing our door in Lund, British Columbia.
That's right.
Yeah.
An
Oh,
absolute highlight of my wretched life. And I
that day anyway.
Well, that day for sure. So, and John, you joined us on a very auspicious day. This won't mean much when it gets on the tape, I guess, but to quote a famous line. But today, when we're recording, it's October 23rd, which is what was it, Michelle? 34th?
34.
34th anniversary of the Wrong release.
Yeah.
It was released today on this day, 1989.
Really?
So happy 34th birthday, Wrong. Yeah. According to the internet.
Well, how come no one told me?
Yeah. Well, here I am.
Well, that's why we're having
told us.
It took me 34 years to find that out.
It did. So you should go listen to it. It's pretty good. That's what I hear anyway.
Ah, yes.
And I mean, that's well timed because that AT release, I think they wisened up and decided, you know what, screw this releasing these things in order. Let's just put out
the gold.
the cash cow, as it were.
Yeah,
get Wrong out there. Yeah, that was smart.
Yeah, go straight for the money.
Straight for the
money shot.
Hey, I hope you're seeing a lot of that money too. That's all I got to say about it.
From Wrong, I would hope especially. That's that's how we're gonna pull the kids back into this whole thing. I think
that's right. Well, the kids and their money. I mean, music. That's where it's at.
That's right. Exactly. On the TikToks. So, John, before we start diving into all the questions I'm sure we have, we usually like to do a dumb little segment up top called "What Are You Drinking?" where we talk about the stupid stuff we're drinking to help ourselves get through this interminable podcast. So, John, you have anything in front of you?
I do. It's unfortunately not stupid.
Oh, good.
Yeah, it's actually really, really smart.
Water?
What is it? Smart water?
It's beer. It's beer.
There you go.
I was lying.
Oh.
Actually, what I'm drinking is you've caught me in a moment actually, because this doesn't happen very often. It has happened once or twice that I have run out of my homebrew.
No, it's
store-bought beer.
Yes,
Store.
Yeah. Well, no. I'm not about to go to a store to buy beer.
He's not a savage.
No, I've got my good friend Dave McAnulty's beer from down in Seashell in Batch 44, from Batch 44. Yes, he very kindly expressed my sadness that the homebrew had run out, and he had come up and actually delivered to me a big sack of lager malt and some lager yeast and some acidulated malt, as a matter of fact, because my water here is quite hard, which actually makes incredibly good beer. But for lagers, you tend to want a softer beer. So yes, and he always, and here's some hops, and he's always giving me lots of beer gifts. And and then I ran out of beer, and I was passing by Seashelt on the way back from our last set of practices with Dead Bob down in Vancouver, and he gifted me a keg of his cream ale.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
He got a cake.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Excellent.
And so that's what I'm drinking right now. Batch
Very good.
44 cream ale, and it's very delicious.
Fantastic. I don't think I'll ever forget that smoked brew that you had
man,
when we were up
that
there.
was
That was that taste
amazeballs.
lingers in my mouth. That was so
Oh,
damn good.
Oh, punk rauch. Yeah, punk
Yeah.
rauch.
Yeah, that was incredible.
I
Well,
love smoked
excellent.
beer.
Yeah,
I love smoked beer.
I don't
I'd
think
never
I'd
had
ever
it
had it
before.
before.
Yeah,
Me
me
neither.
neither. But
Nope.
yeah, I fucking love it. That there was a place here in Petaluma actually that was that I went to the other day. They had really good whiskey and they had a smoked beer of all things.
Yeah, there's a few out there.
Yeah.
Hmm.
It's kind of not a super popular beer. It's kind of as I call it, it's not a barley sandwich, but it's a ham and barley sandwich.
Bacon and barley.
Nice.
Bacon and barley sandwich, and it's traditionally pretty much you find it in Bavaria, actually in Franken or Franconia. Is really where the epicenter is. But yeah, some North American brewers have done a few. I've had a couple that are not so great. Local brewer here, Townsite Brewing. I don't if you recall.
Oh, Powell River,
yeah,
yeah.
Matthew.
Yeah,
Matthew, you had one here. Before.
Cedric did a very nice smoked beer last year. I really enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe
Nice.
Lund can be redubbed, or Powell River can be redubbed Neufranken, the new world center of smoked beers.
There you go.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
So you got to do something with that mill.
Yeah.
That's right. Put it on the map. So I'm a little boring today, as usual. I got WWC. I got whiskey, water, and coffee. I'm triple teaming it here.
Oh.
And I thought I was completely out of whiskey, which would have been apropos, just like we left John completely out of whiskey when we left this place.
Yeah, that
Oh,
nice
we gotta
bottle.
rectify that.
Here's a nice bottle of whiskey.
Whiskey, yep. Hey,
Okay.
hey,
Are you
you're
going to open that?
we can go. No. You just brought it out. We didn't ask. You just were foolish enough
We'll
to
get you another
crack
one.
it
We'll
open.
get
John
you
is such a
another one.
consummate host that he kind of
Oh
shot
my
himself in
God.
the foot there.
Tell me.
Yeah, that bottle didn't last. But
No,
Sadly,
it did not.
sadly.
So I've found some really old whiskey that I think was already open, and I was a little worried about it, but it actually tastes pretty good. So I'm doing okay. I got that and some fine coffee. Michelle, please tell us what you've got.
Michelle has the tears of our Lord.
Oh,
There we go.
nice,
Michelle has the almighty Guinness beer.
excellent.
yes.
Bless us, Guinness.
Listen to that.
I know it's a good pour. That's a good pour.
There it is. I have the Guinness.
It's been too long, Michelle, that I've heard that. So thank you. For
I
that.
know we haven't been on in a while.
I know.
What's Matthew got?
I remain on the wagon. So tonight I've got CC Lemon, which is the third most popular soft drink in Japan. It is a lemon soft drink, and the name CC refers to the 40 lemons worth of vitamin C that it says on the label that it contains. I'm sure some creative license is there, but what I always found funny, having lived in Japan, and that it is quite a luminously yellow beverage, is that if you ask a Japanese child, if they need to go to the toilet, you say, "Shishi desu ka? Shishi suru? Shishi daiji desu ka?" So shishi is pee-pee. So shishi is how you say CC in Japanese.
Funny.
Oh boy.
That's
Oh,
great.
It's in the water. That's why it's yellow.
Oh, pre-melted yellow snow. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Well, there we go. We're all liquored up, or will be, at least at some point. So, yeah, this is ostensibly a No Means No podcast. That's in the name. But I think before we dive into any of our dumb No Means No questions, there are much more important and interesting things to talk about right off the get-go, which is that you have, and have had now for some time, a phenomenal fucking album, Dead Bob. And it's just about to hit the touring phase. As a matter of fact, you just were letting us know that you're off practicing for the imminent tour launch. How's the practicing going?
It's going well. Three of the members live in Vancouver, and for all you listeners out there that are not familiar with British Columbia, I live in Lund, which is the end of the road. Literally,
Quite literally.
Yes, Highway 101, I think, goes somewhere near you guys down there. I think, well, actually,
sure does.
Along
right
the
by
coast,
my house, almost. Yep.
It's Highway 1, isn't it? On the coast, is that?
It is on the coast. It's Highway 1, and then it merges with 101 at some point. But yeah,
it does. Yes,
they come in and out of each other.
Yeah, the road changes name a few times, but it finally winds up and ends here in Lund.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
And then from this point northward, you can't travel by road along the coast of North America. And if you turn around and go the other way and mosey on past you guys, apart from a brief little section in Panama where you don't go because it's too dangerous anyway, and I think you have to take a little boat ride somewhere down by that isthmus. Isthmus? Is that what it is? Isthmus? The isthmus. Then you continue on down the west coast of South America until you reach the other end of the road, and that would be in Tierra del Fuego.
Interesting.
So you live on the same street as guys in Ushuaia.
What's that?
So you can just drive on your same road, just go down your driveway, turn left, and keep driving until you get to Ushuaia, and then you can take a boat to Antarctica.
Oh, there you go.
There you go.
Yeah. Wow. I hear they're building a bridge. Damn. Well.
So there I am. I'm up here. Well, here I am. Sorry. I've seemed to become disembodied, but so to travel now, where the heck? What was I talking about?
Oh, three of the band members.
Yeah, being in Vancouver.
Oh yes, the other band members that are somewhere down the road from me. Colin is very close by. Colin McRae, who is a fellow I have known for quite a long time from Victoria. He played in a band called Pigment Vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
Yay!
He moved up to Powell River probably about 4 or 5 years before I did. And when I did come up here, that's when I really got to know him more as a closer friend and worked with him on a coffee shop. And then eventually him and I were part of the Wildwood Pub. But he's been up here and living here, and we've known each other. But the other three members of the band live in the Lower Mainland down in Vancouver. So that would be Byron Slack from a band called Invasives, the Invasives, which are an incredibly excellent band. A long string of really, really strong records. Always one of my favorite, and we've done a bunch of tours with those guys. Byron has played drums with the Hanson Brothers and with the No Means No Clothes Ramones.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
And Ford Pier.
Man,
are you familiar with Ford Pier?
Indeed.
Yes,
oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, I know you are, Matthew. Yes, and he, of course, I've been doing lots of music with him for many years, since the 90s. And in fact, he was the one that threw in that very catchy, very, very catchy harmony in Slowly Melting.
Oh.
He was in the studio. He was in the studio when we were recording that album.
Wow.
This is the harmony I think you should do, and it was a great one. So yes, and of course with the Show Business Giants and with Tom Holliston, and I also did a bit of drumming on one of Ford's albums, and both of us appear on the DOA album, The Black Spot.
Black Spot, yeah.
So done a lot of stuff with Ford in the past, so it's really fun to be working with him again, and then Byron's partner, who I only just met recently, but they've been, I guess, together for a couple of years and living together. And she's a very talented and a multi-instrumentalist. She plays, of course, guitar and sings, but she plays trumpet, and one of her gigs is teaching trumpet at the conservatory there in Vancouver, and she could play keyboards, and so a real big asset for Dead Bob for the stuff that we're doing.
Oh, yeah. And Christy Lee's in a band called Wrong.
And then she has her own band. Well, she's in a lot of bands, actually.
Yes.
Wrong is her band, and they totally rock. And but she plays with a lot of different folks. In fact, she's doing like 10 days with some band, I think in Ontario. I'm not even sure who. She gets calls and plays a lot with a lot of different people. So
How about that? Good for her.
but they're all very busy, so they can't really come up here to practice. So we go down there, and I will be. In fact, tomorrow morning, Colin and I go down for another 3 days of practice for 4 or 5 hours for about 3 days in a row, and then Colin and I come back and we rehearse here together, bass and drums. It's a little, a little barren without the rest of the band, but we're the two most important people in the band anyway.
Yeah, I don't know. You made that drum and bass pairing work before sometime, I think.
At some point.
Remember.
Right.
Somewhere.
So it's going well. It's a little weird. It's a little awkward. I've never had to approach a band like this before, like approaching a band this way before.
Right.
Yeah. I was going to ask if how living and working far from each other affects the songwriting process. Like, do you do it virtually or messages in a bottle via Dropbox, or how does it work?
Well, most of the record I did myself, of course. Yes, with Selena Martin singing Lifelike, that was literally us just emailing files. She lives in France.
Oh, wow.
But Byron came up with Christy, and he contributed to his performance on the album. The few things he did here.
Oh, great.
And Christy as well, and my son. So really the only sort of remote collaboration was with Selena.
Okay.
But yes, it's when you're rehearsing, especially we have songs that have never been performed live before,
Right.
Literally. So it's not as though these songs grew organically out of a band through rehearsal and then recording and then you perform them. They grew entirely, well, not entirely, but pretty predominantly out of my head with no thought as to what instrumentation would be used. I could do whatever I wanted.
Right.
So, so now it's like, okay, I've made this. How do we recreate it live?
Right.
So that is the weird. It's kind of a challenge in that way. Every other music I've done is you work rehearsing the songs. They might have been basically written, but you rehearse them and then you record them and then you perform them.
Right.
Yeah, together.
Right.
Yeah,
I mean,
together.
Dead Bog's essentially a super group.
I was going to say, yeah.
Has it felt more like friends helping you out with your project? Or, I mean, I guess that Dead Bob will have a chance to gel as a band when you tour, but have your feelings about that changed as the project has developed?
Sort of, but not really. I mean, because the focus now is just learning these songs and filling out the set with a few with some other songs. There's only 9 songs on the album, but we're going to have about probably just over an hour set, and then probably about another half an hour worth of music on top of that. So a lot of other songs to learn and whatnot. And the next album is essentially done.
Whoa!
Yeah, it's
Jesus.
very, very close to being finished. A couple things just need to be replaced, i.e., like digital horns. I want Ford has taken it upon himself to learn how to play the trombone for this project.
Oh shit!
Which is not completely out of the blue in the sense that when he was in school, in orchestra, he was a French horn player.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wow.
Which is not to say that the French horn and the trombone are in any way alike. They're not at all. They're completely different.
You have that embouchure, and you can kind
yes,
of
it's all the
Yeah.
And but actually, playing a brass instrument is not utterly foreign. And his father is a music teacher and has his, whatever, his master's in trombone. So
Oh, cool.
he's been around the trombone, and so yes, it was awesome that he took that upon himself to start learning to do that. And with Christy on trumpet, we got ourselves a little horn section for some songs. So
that is fantastic.
yeah, that's super
it's
fun.
got
Super fun.
just the notion that there's another album waiting in the wings is pretty.
Okay. So the thing is that this album, the first album here, it's 9 out of, I don't know, 30 or 40 songs. Just stuff, just not all finished songs. Just some of them are pretty just sketches, just demos. A lot of them didn't have lyrics. Some stuff that was, sort of working on for No Means No, but also just a lot of stuff I was just writing myself without any real. There was no
home for
them. Yeah. Yes, and especially right towards the end when I moved up to London in 2013, it was very close to the end of No Means No's tenure, and then I was living up here in the cabin on my own, and had never lived on my own ever in my life. So I had a lot of time and did a lot of writing, and that's when I was approached by Compressor Head and Frank over in Berlin to do the Robot album. So I just began writing like crazy, writing kind of Ramones Hanson style songs for the Robots, but then writing a lot of other stuff as well, just ideas and sketches and stuff. The long and short of it is I have this catalog of music in various forms of completion. And when COVID came along, it was like, okay, the bar, relaxed to some degree. It was actually, COVID was very relaxing for me because it was so incredibly stupidly stressful.
Yeah.
And then everything stopped. It's like, well, it didn't completely stop, but I didn't have to be there all the time,
Right.
And that's when I had time to like, okay, well, I can set my drums up and and start replacing a lot of the programmed drums and the loops that I'd used to write with, and start putting live drums down on a lot of these songs. And I just kind of went at it and just started doing them all. And liking the results. It's like, oh, this actually sounds like songs now.
Yeah.
Oh, wicked.
So it all kind of started falling together, but of course, there's no thought of being a band or releasing anything. It was just more or less kind of finishing unfinished things.
Right.
So they all kind of came together in a long, slow evolutionary process, but not as a band. And like I said, there was no limits. Whatever, a song was a song. If it had like a fake soprano saxophone, well, then it does. So it's quite a mixed bag of stuff. And this Lifelike album, fast forward to 2022, when it was pretty obvious the bar was going to go out of business, and I was going to be out of a job, and I was going to have this record done, and thinking about, well, I could just self-release it. Then it became pretty obvious that I need to put together a band if I can.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how the band started to come together. And I'd already been working with all these folks on the record, and they all were keen to like, okay, let's try to be a live band.
Oh, that's great.
That's great.
Yeah. It's awesome.
Not a lot of arm twisting needed. That's great.
No, not really. Everyone was quite excited. And
the chemistry worked out in advance.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. That's right.
But so that said, the next record was I've already completed another set of songs almost.
Damn.
So when you say like, okay, are you feeling like transitioning back into a more familiar ground of being a band and rehearsing and songs growing from that? It says, well, not really. We haven't really got to that point.
Right.
It's just been a process of trying to find the time to be able to get together and rehearse. And it's all just about learning these songs and the additional songs in the set, and getting them to the point where they can be performed. So there's no, I mean, this time, some of the songs we worked a little bit on, a little bit changing this and that from rehearsal, but that's all to come, and it's again, an unknown where that will go. But I think inevitably that's where it has to go.
Yeah, right. And I know a lot of people, this is a question that if we don't ask it, even though I know for sure there is no answer, people will kill us in that you have this limited, wonderful tour in BC and slightly elsewhere. And then you've got all of these other people probably around the world, frankly, who are like, wait a minute, why do you come to my town? Come to it, right? You've got all the people chiming after you.
What about me?
Which I know is an entirely what about me? Definitely can get in for free. It's a totally different beast, I'm sure, to even consider beginning to tour even slightly farther afield. But
and the logistics of a bigger band too.
Exactly. As of now, even just aspirationally, without we're definitely doing or definitely not. Like, what are your feelings on that? Do you guys want to do that? Do you personally want to do that? Okay.
Absolutely. I mean, that's where this first kick at the can is just to see how it goes, of course, and we have to be a band, but nowadays, I mean, the field is so crowded out there that anything you want to do, you got to be planning 6 months down the road minimum.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So we can't sit on our heels and go like, all right, well, let's reassess in December, because then you're not touring until next fall. So we are already talking about and trying to figure out how to get down your way.
Excellent.
Good. Let us help.
I mean, obviously the next direction to go from BC, especially if it's in the winter, before the springtime, is south. I mean, there was the whole idea, well, we could go to Alberta, not in February. We're not going there. No. Go to Winnipeg and back. Yeah, right. Well, maybe April.
Yeah.
So, definitely those conversations are happening, but it's turning on all these engines again. This is, I've been dormant for 10 years. And No Means No is, certainly it has the reputation. And of course, people are curious. It's like, oh, John from No Means No, he's doing something. And the album is getting, the album is getting really good response. People, at least the naysayers haven't popped out and said anything. So it's all kind of positive feedback. So we're not starting from scratch, but it's not just going to pick up where No Means No left off.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. We still have to go out and play shows and be a great band. I mean, it's what it boils down. We got to be a great band, or it's not going to go very far.
No, for sure. I mean, one would hope there's a little wind. I mean, I don't know that it necessarily would be, but there's a little. I mean, I think the three of us have had this sense that with the book coming out, with the reissues coming out, all of that stuff's going to hit Spotify. There is a sense for me anyway that there's a resurgent interest, and can be even more of a resurgent interest in No Means No, which might hopefully give a little wind to a tour, right?
Oh, it absolutely will, and this is what we talked about.
The timing is great on that front.
Yeah, totally. I mean, the iron is hot, so
exactly.
We have to we can't, like I say, you can't just sort of just wait and see. Let's play shows, and then we said, well, we have no choice. We got to be good because we've already made plans on doing other stuff. So.
Right. So you better or else.
Yeah, be better, or it's just going to be embarrassing conversations after that.
That's right. So, well, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, every single person that's in that band is a legend.
Player.
It's phenomenal. So it's definitely one of those super groups, but in our wheelhouse and not the Traveling Wilburys, which I love. We finally get our own super group of.
Excellent. Well, we already had the new pornographers, I guess, but now Dead Bob is joining us.
No, it's exciting, but it's the same thing. It's like it's an unknown. It's haven't played a show yet, so
sure.
It's a little poor Colin. I mean, God, he's got to get up there and play bass. Who is he going to be compared to, right?
Oh man,
So,
Oh, right.
But
Yeah,
who was he always compared to in Pigment Vehicle anyway?
I know, but God, if anybody can hold their own, I mean, he's
oh yeah, I know, but
He's-
it's
but
just
still,
again,
yeah.
it's just it's you can't ignore that.
No, of
It's
course.
on your mind, and
Yeah.
it's same with me. It's like it's I'm not nervous per se, but I suppose a little bit in the sense
Sure.
that now I'm having to play drums and more or less be the leader and be the lead singer, and it's not like the Hanson Brothers where I can go out and be a
Right.
goofball and you're in character in a costume and I don't have to worry about the drums. Now I got to perform on the drums and sing way
Yeah.
more than I did in No Means No.
So
Yeah.
Byron's not playing the drums?
Yes, he is. He's going to step in for a song, but
Oh,
I'm
okay. You're
not
gonna
going to
swap a
give it
couple of
away.
times.
Okay, good.
Okay. All right.
Well, I mean, and that
Um,
was one of the things we were going to ask is like, are you in this band going to, be drums and lead singer? Are you keeping that? And it sounds like you
Oh
are
my
for the
God.
most part.
Yes,
That's
in fact, I
incredible.
wouldn't have climbed out from behind the drums, but they insisted. So, and
Well, good.
and also Ford is insisting that not this tour. We haven't worked anything out for this tour, but he says that we are going to work some song where I come out and play the piano.
Nice.
Oh, no kidding.
Hell
So,
yeah.
or the
That's awesome.
keyboard, I
The
suppose.
keyboards, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's one of the beautiful
Excellent.
things about this band is everybody plays something else.
That's right.
It could be a lot of
Yeah.
switching off, and that was one of my questions about being drumming and singing. I mean, there's not a lot of Phil Collins and the guy from Triumph, but like, has it been
Duncan from Snuff?
right?
Oh.
So
Yeah.
have you had to really practice
that
that?
guy
Has it
in
been
the
difficult?
Eagles?
There's definitely a different quality to your voice. So has it been a lot of work getting those little leather lungs back into shape?
Actually, my voice, I haven't lost it yet, and I've been screaming pretty hard at practices. I was a little bit surprised at that actually, but what is hard
Careful now.
is there's some songs that are just I just want to play the drums because they're super interesting and fun to play the drums,
Right.
and not necessarily simple, but it's like oh God, I got to sing here,
Oh my God.
and so there's always it's always a little bit of compromise from one to the other, unless the drumming is really really straightforward and easy, or whether the singing is minimal. Then it worked. I mean, I did like Dark Ages and I don't know Bruno. I mean, there were songs I could sing and play, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, today I was just rehearsing the song "One of You," and that's got
I like that one. I
pretty.
think that's my favorite one.
Well, there you go. Thank you very
I think
much.
that is my favorite one.
It's incredible.
And
we'll talk about all
but
the
I'm
songs
like
later,
trying
but,
to sing these, and I keep flipping lines from one verse from another and back, and it's like having a hell of a time just because they kind of it's a bit of a tongue twister, that song to sing. And the words, there's always the same words happening, but not necessarily at the same part of each stanza. It's like
exactly.
Oh no, I don't say that line. That's the third stanza. I say that line. So yeah, literally, I was like, I probably sat there and sang those verses over and over again today for about an hour, drumming.
Wow.
And getting to be able to feel. This is what was just always blew me away about my brother, Rob, is the way he could sing and play.
Oh Jesus.
Oh yeah, I know.
And but not just, I mean, yeah, singing and playing, like playing bass or guitar and singing is, like a lot of people do it. But the way he could just also kind of talk.
Yep.
Yeah.
While he was playing, it's just, it really is. You got to divide your brain up. But the thing is, drumming, I've already got my brain divvied up pretty hard.
Right, exactly. How many more partitions can you have?
And so when songs like One of You, where it is somewhat spoken at times, kind of, it's rhythmic, but it's tricky, but I have to be able to deliver both really well.
Yeah.
So it's a challenge, and I got to do it in front of hundreds of people. So
over and over and over again.
Over and over. Then it just gets easier. It's the first couple times. That's the nerve-wracking part.
Yeah.
Then you settle in for sure. And the set's pretty well paced. The other guys are singing. They all sing. Like
Yeah, they're all like three of them sing lead in their own bands.
exactly.
Yeah, right.
And so everyone's got singing chores, and we've had to
chops.
be a bit creative actually, because there's one song that I just can't sing it. I can sing some of the backup, and so we've just divvied up the song amongst Byron and Ford and Christie.
Nice.
And just picking lines. Like I can sing the whole verse, but I can't sing the last line because I got to turn my head because I have to do something else. So
Right.
you have to be creative. So creatively, the voices will pop in, and hopefully it's kind of interesting for the audience that the vocals kind of bounce around a little bit, get spread out.
Yeah.
If it's done right, the Beastie Boys, they made an art form of it, right?
Exactly.
Very
down
true.
to the words.
Very true.
So that whole concept of like, okay, well, I can't do it, so you're going to have to sing this line. But how do we make that not, how do we make it sound interesting? So,
right.
So you just have to approach it from a creative perspective. I mean, these are the parameters that we can work in, that I can work in. We have to do a workaround.
Right.
Yeah, well, I imagine with collaborators like that, that's got to be pretty engaging. I mean, an interesting way to take off from, having put all these songs in your own head to now have to approach them in that way. I don't know. I imagine that's kind of interesting to kind of look at the songs in a, not necessarily a completely new way, but at least slightly new way to kind of hear how they're going to be, how the instrumentation's going to go, how the vocals are going to go. That's I don't know. It's pretty fascinating.
And maybe as the other members get ideas for their own songs too. Who knows?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
And Ford playing trombone, you could put a boxing glove on the end of it, and then when it's your turn, he just flaps you right in the face. You ever see those trombone boxing videos? They're hilarious. Just flap you in the your turn.
Now you're giving him ideas.
All right.
Oh no. Well, this of course speaks to what I was mentioning before about creating songs that were not put together by rehearsing with people. And that's the thing. I'd sing the song to something that I had done the drumming for, but I never did them at the same time. And now it's locked. Now it's like, well, there's the song. That's how it's sung. Those are the words. That's the rhythm. It's like, oh God, well, now I have to actually try to do that all together live. So you kind of corner yourself at times. And the same thing, and I keep doing it. Like I just actually, the next album was a lot of, like I'm saying, older material. But I did actually it's new and old. The music, I did this drumming. I was just did a couple drum patterns, and one of them's pretty hard, and the other's pretty easy, and kind of was arranging them together on the computer, and then I added another overdub of drums to, it's kind of building this thing, and Robbie, this could be, I guess, probably the last real collaboration with my brother. He had demoed an old song. He had demoed a song about 12 years ago. It was sometime before. Right around the time we were doing the tour EPs, I don't know, 2011 or 12 or something. And he had written this one song called "The Center of the Universe," and he was at that time trying to program the drums on the Pro Tools, and he came up with this very odd thing, and it was kind of like, well, I don't think I can really play this.
He was giving you payback for what you did to him.
But the thing is, the structure of the song was just really completely arcane drum rhythm, and then this really super straight part, which was kind of the chorus. And he had the weird part was more or less just kind of spoken word and whatnot, and not a lot of words. And then the chorus was very tuneful, and then I've always liked it. I didn't really like what he programmed. I thought musically it was kind of, it wasn't super strong musically, in my opinion, but thought that it could be a really great song. And then it dawned on me that I just kind of did the same thing, this weird kind of hard drumming thing, and then this easy thing, and I went, I bet you anything I can just take these words and just drop them right on this song. That structurally it should work. So that's what I did, and it turned out great. It's like it's going to open the next record. Absolutely,
that's
nice.
That's
really love it.
That's exciting.
I don't. But my point being is I've done it again. I cannot sing and play the song. There's just no way I'm going to be able to sing and play the song at the same time. And it's got I was even doing a real Robbie caricature vocals because I really like the way he delivered them. So I delivered them more or less the same way. And it's like, fuck, I can't do this live. There's no way I can drum this and sing it at the same time. So I've done it again, totally painted myself into a corner, and now we're going to have to figure out what the hell to do.
We believe in you. You'll figure it out.
Yeah. Well, we got to start writing music. We got to get together and write music.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
I'm just making my life difficult here now.
So, you talked about the new album a little bit, and we've hit on a couple of the songs. I wonder if you'd mind if we kind of not grilled you, but engaged you a little bit about the songs on Dead Bob. I know, Matthew's had some great questions about it. I've got questions about some of the songs, and it's a great opportunity to sort of pick your brain about some of the observations or questions we might have about the album, if you don't mind.
Sure. Yeah.
Great. So you had mentioned that. So you've got this one Rob collaboration going to open the next album, and I think on Dead Bob there are two collaborations, right? There's White Stone Eyes, and then of course Lifelike, and we'll get to Lifelike in a little bit. Mm-hmm. But White Stone Eyes, was that off of a demo that was just Rob's? Like, what's the derivation of that in the sense of it having come from the earlier days?
I think that's a song we were monkeying around with. I came up with that riff. What is the keyboard bass riff of that song, and the chord progression, and I guess the entire, pretty much the basic structure of all the music. I don't know. Back in the late '90s, I remember we were working on Dance of the Headless Bourgeoisie. We were practicing downtown Vancouver at that time, and that was and Robbie had written these words, "White Stone Eyes," and I thought they would, it's like, well, let's try to put these two together. Often, we didn't do that terribly often. Robbie would often just write words to my music, but occasionally it went the other way. I think The Jungle was possibly the best version of, he had a set of lyrics and I just wrote the music to the lyrics.
Wow.
And that was a really successful in that direction.
Oh, yeah.
But it was often the other way. I had the song, and then Robbie would start thinking of ideas for words for them. But,
okay.
Anyway, White Stone Eyes was there, and I had this riff, but that keyboard riff is in the key of C, and of course the bass guitar is in the key of E. So he couldn't really play it without tuning down, and tuning a bass from E down to C. It gets really
floppy.
It gets pretty floppy, and this was a really kind of concise riff, right? And really meant to be on the keyboard. So we tried to learn it in E, and it just didn't sound right, and it was abandoned. So, but it's always been there, and then fast forward about 10 years or 12 years, and I moved up here, and it's like, I had the original demo, and it's like, oh fuck, I want to try to make something of this song. And, so I started to redo it because I thought it was a compelling riff, and then I took the lyrics, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to try to put these lyrics on, and I just did it all myself.
Excellent.
Nice.
Yeah, and it worked out great. It was like
it did. It's very successful.
So
I mean,
it's not really a total collaboration in the sense that Robbie and I wrote the song that you hear together, but it started out as a no means no idea that didn't go anywhere, and then I just was able to take that original idea and make a song out of it.
Oh, nice. That's great.
Again, I was just doing it for my own fun, just to do it. And then Lifelike, was a little bit of the same. It was just kind of a pet project. I again came across a demo, my original demo of the music for that, and which was, it's all done on keyboards. It's a pop song. I mean, it was written as a pop song. It sounds like a pop song, but Rob's words, to me, I've always, it was always one of my favorite. Like, I just thought that the what he wrote to that song was, I just really liked. I just thought it really worked.
It's incredible.
And when we did it for the record, again, it was kind of hard. The guitar player was, without the keyboards, it was very hard for guitar to do what the keyboards were doing. And we of course, we did put keyboards down on it. And in the end, we were just the wrong band. It was a great song, great writing, but we weren't the right band for this song. And it ended up on the record, but we never played it live. And I thought, oh, you know what? That's a shame. I think I didn't want to necessarily improve the song because I thought it was fine, but I thought, well, I think I'd like just to do this up as a pop song.
Yeah,
the way it was kind of intended to be.
Yeah,
and thought that I thought also it would be better, instead of a lot of droning male voices, that it would have a bit of a unisex sound to it. Just to give the lyrics a tone that is not on the No Means No recording of it. And I'd met Selena through Tom and thought, oh, she would do a great job singing this song. And I originally wanted her to sing the whole thing, and she did.
Oh, wow.
But in the end, she was like, no, I think you should sing the first two verses and then I'll come in and blah, blah, blah. And the whole sort of thing was arranged the way it ended up through just a little back and forth with her. But in the end, it was like, oh, fuck, I was really happy with it. And so the idea of putting it out was really just because I was pleased with it. It wasn't that I intentionally intended to redo this song to release it again. It was just, I redid it just for my own enjoyment, and then was like, well, this is great. I'm going to put it out.
Yeah, I mean, it's phenomenal, and it's a real gift for, us, the longtime fans, to hear this song. I won't even say reimagined, right? But they are the same song, but in such completely different ways. It's I'm a real fan of the original version that was recorded.
Oh yeah,
I love Rob's vocals and all of that. But what you did with this, like you said, you've leaned more into the pop side of it. It really brings that side of the song out, and it's such a joyful song and a great sort of like fulcrum for this album too. I think it's perfect. I think it's perfect that you named the album that. I know originally the album had a different name, which I still love, but I think it's a brilliant fulcrum from the album. It's kind of a connecting tissue with the previous iterations of No Means No. But yeah, what a fucking great.
And that's good songwriting when you can have really one song where you can just kind of branch off in different directions and have it be something a little bit better, different, more.
Yeah,
that's good songwriting.
Just like I say, it was just more or less trying to give it the feel I would have had imagined it would have had. In fact, there's the keyboard choir in the back. If I could have got a boys' choir to sing that, I would have. That's what it needed. That church choir needed to be a real church choir. But, unfortunately, the war chest wasn't full enough to go hire a choir.
That can be for version number 3 for.
And then I'd have to freaking write things out in longhand. No, I'm not going to do that.
In the treble clef.
One last thing about Lifelike that I found interesting. A lot of people, when they were commenting, or kind of following people's reactions to this album, there were people who were insisting that it was Rob singing on that song. And I've noticed that early on in your singing, your voice sound like, and I mean way back in the early No Means No times, there was more of your tenor was more similar to Andy's tone, and as you've aged, you're more similar to Rob, and certainly. I mean, you just sound like you on most of these songs, but in Lifelike, there are parts where it's like, wow, that really could fucking be Rob singing this song. It's uncanny in parts. So I don't blame people for thinking that, but we had to work hard to convince them that no, Rob's not on the album, I promise.
Well, I can set the rumors. I can what's the word? I can as I was saying for this song, "Center of the Universe." Well, I can tell you all now. It is not Robbie singing, because I know that's Rob. But it was like actually I was trying to deliver it like Rob, so it was pretty. It was a bit deliberate, I must say.
Yeah. Oh, wow!
And and I caught myself too in White Stone Eyes. There's a moment in White Stone Eyes. I was like, oh man, I sound like Rob right there.
Oh, cool.
Because I don't really notice until it's like, oh yeah. I remember when Jason Lamb, the fellow who wrote the book, he was over and I played him that song a while ago. And he goes, "Is that Rob? Is that Rob? Is that Rob?"
Oh, God.
No, it's not Rob singing.
Oh, no.
Just someone who knows him very well.
Yes.
Yeah.
But yes, I'm
didn't
very,
notice
very
a lot
happy.
of the. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No. I was just trying to fill in the silence there.
Yeah, no.
There's some dead
just,
airspace.
I hadn't noticed a lot of the backing vocals until I had it quite loud in my garage. And is it the other band members, or who's doing the backing vocals, or is it just Selena layered and layered?
It's just Selena and me on that song.
Cool.
Wow.
A couple of her and a couple of me.
Nice.
And the only other backing vocals on that, I think, are Byron and Christy are in One of You.
Okay.
And Party of One is part of the drunken choir shouting in the back.
Right.
Here's a question, accusation / request. So something that Rob did for the tour EPs, or didn't do rather, which pissed me off to no end, is that there were no lyric sheets with those albums, right?
Really? Yeah.
Never.
Yeah.
Those lyrics have never been officially released. And so we've all had to do our best muddling through to figure out what he was saying, which is, not too hard with Rob, but in a couple places. But now it's the same with your stuff, right? We didn't get that on Bandcamp necessarily. So on the physical releases, which I think there are, right? You've gotten some vinyl press for Dead Bob, maybe for the tours, I understand. Are you having lyric sheets for us wordsmiths who enjoy?
The vinyl and the CD. I didn't make any CDs this time. I just whatever. I was too worried I'd have a pile of them in my closet for too long and tie up what little money I have. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna get rid of all the vinyl I made. I made 300 vinyl, so I'm pretty sure I'm gonna get rid of all that.
Oh yeah.
And yes, there is a lyric sheet insert, and you'll probably enjoy it. It's I'm not going to give it away. It's a little bit clever.
Excellent.
Yes, but all the words are there.
Those are going to sound like hotcakes. Yeah, no, I'm glad for that, because it's really what I have gleaned from really listening carefully to these. Your lyrics in this album are really phenomenal, John. I know I don't know. I would imagine it must be a little weird. Rob is, of course, an absolutely exceptional songwriter, as are you. And I think this is something we'll talk about later when we get to the No Means No part. But, people often cite, I know I'm one of them, cite Rob's lyrics. Right. But lyrics on this album are phenomenal. And I really want a chance to get to pour through this album and sit down and listen to it. Well, I get most of them, but there are some that I cannot. I just cannot, right? I can't.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you though, when I went through DistroKid as a digital distributor,
yeah.
So for Spotify and Apple Music and all that, and I had to write all the lyrics out, and they were all uploaded for whatever sites. I've never looked at. I know Spotify. They have a you can click it on and you can see the lyrics go by. Maybe not for every album or every band does that, but I know some do. And I had to do that. So streaming somewhere, because probably the lyrics are streaming somewhere.
Okay. Well, now my tomorrow is set. I'm going to go back. But to be honest, I've never streamed the Dead Bob on Spotify.
They're right here in Bandcamp. I've got the page open, and then you just scroll over there's a little link on each song that says lyrics and by track individually. So
how about that?
There you go.
Yes, and I uploaded the lyrics. I actually remembered to do that.
Well, now my tomorrow is set. That's
so we'll know who made the typos.
But You don't get to see the clever lyric sheet until you see the album.
That is something to
Clever
look forward
lyric
to.
sheet.
That is something to look forward to. Yeah, I mean, vinyl's gold
That'll
these days.
take me
Those things
years.
are going to sell like hotcakes, and then come back on the
Oh,
market
yeah.
for 50% or 50 times markup probably.
And then fist fights in the parking lot outside the venue.
Hipster fist fights.
But there actually is going to
Slap
be
fights.
there is going to be some CDs released.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, because
Nice.
I don't have a record label at the moment, but a good friend of mine in Poland does, and
okay.
and he asked, "Hey, can I put out 300 CDs for Poland?" And I said,
yeah.
"Sure, why not?
Yes.
No one else is doing it."
Yeah, right.
So there will be another short run of CDs that will, well, hopefully this will be the only things that are on Wrong Record exclusively. Hopefully I'll have a label. But yes, it's a Polish, and I don't want to try to say it because I can't pronounce it.
Matthew can help.
I was going to say Matthew probably could if he saw it.
Yeah, it's antenna. Oh, I don't have it in front of me.
Antenna wheels.
Oh, I can't say it. It's a very old friend of mine.
That's great. I mean, there's perpetual clickbait articles about how CDs are kind of becoming the new vinyl for like the younger generation. That it's now that they're sort of looking back on it wistfully as like a kind of like we did with cassette tapes, like, oh yeah, CDs, remember those? Yeah. And so they're really starting to sell. So John, you could be hitting that at the right time.
Well, yeah, you never know. Who knows?
Who knows? Exactly.
I admit, if you ask me, CDs, that was the perfect music medium. I've got no weird nostalgic feeling about vinyl at all. Vinyl's like, oh, there, it just okay.
Do you know what I just thought of? Who is that?
Yeah. Let's put that record on, okay.
Did you hear about that?
Oh, in fact, the funny thing happened. Oh my God, I got the test pressing, and Paddy Duddy up in Paddy Duddy's the drummer for DOA, and he helped me get these records together, and he got one, and then Byron got one, and mine got, they sent one up here, but it didn't come, and then it finally did arrive, but everybody else kind of listened to it, and Patty was like, yeah, it sounds great, it's awesome, it's really good. Oh, okay, good. Byron's like, yeah, that's great, it's great, it sounds different, than the wave file's kind of cool, blah, blah, blah. And then I finally got mine. I was like, oh, right, well, I guess I'll give it a listen. I said, everybody says it's all good, I don't really need to. I put it on, and it was like, this sounds like shit.
Oh
no!
This is awful. This sounds terrible. What are they fucking talking about? I was like, oh my God. No. And we've been, well, whatever. I was like, another sidebar is we've been rehearsing songs, and I'm always playing things too fast, right? And anyway, listen to this test pressing. It sounds like shit. I'm like, oh my God, we're playing the song so much faster than the record too. Oh my Lord. And I was like, well, I got to put on Spotify and see how it compares. And I put on Spotify, and as soon as I turned on Spotify, I realized that my turntable was turning a semitone too slow.
Oh, no kidding!
That shows you how much I pay attention to fucking vinyl. So we listen to a few records around here. I never noticed it,
That's hilarious.
It's like, oh my Lord, oh shit, yeah, I got a pitch control here. Maybe I should.
That's great.
Oops. Anyway, it sounded a lot better after that. I was like, okay, it's all right.
That's what they were talking about. My friends aren't crazy.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I mean, you guys, No Means No really did hit at the peak of like when CDs were really starting to become a thing. I wasn't into vinyl back then, certainly. And I always loved the fact that with the CDs, we got all the songs, right? It used to just bum me out when I'd get like,
except
Mr.
for
Happy
Lifelike,
or whatever.
which was only on the
Except
vinyl
for
release.
Lifelike, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, no, it came out on the re-release of Dance, but things like, Mr. Happy, which was missing some great songs and things like that. It's like, yeah, it's great that with CDs you could put on all the songs that you want.
Yeah. And then everyone did. Then suddenly it's like, oh, the album's an hour long.
Yeah, right.
The album's 28 songs. Like,
yeah, right.
See, the thing, what I like about vinyl is 40 minutes. that
Yeah.
is like the perfect
Yeah.
amount of time to listen to a band.
13 songs or something
Mhm.
like that.
Yeah.
Well, just 40 minutes. Like,
Yeah.
you know, I don't want to listen to an hour and a half of the
Right.
same band. And 28 songs, well, yes, except, you know, 8 of them probably shouldn't have been on the album because they weren't as good as the other 20. You know, it's like, it just, the album format is great. Like 20 minutes,
Right.
you got that side, then you flip it, and the sides are like part
Yeah.
one, part two, you know, and, you know, like I say, that's the perfect amount of time. 40, 45 minutes is a
Yeah.
good amount of time to absorb it all.
Yeah,
And
medium is
it,
the message in a bit, right? Like it the limitations sort of force people into making good choices in a way that, yeah, I could see what you're
yeah,
saying. With
it's part of
CDs,
the
not so much.
process. Yeah. And and I really, even this album, it's like, this was, you know, this, it's in that order because that's the order I want it to be listened to.
Mm.
And
Right.
with vinyl, you can't just, you know, bounce around from one
Yeah, there's
track.
no
I'm gonna
shuffle.
listen. I'm
Right.
gonna listen. Yeah, put on shuffle.
Yeah, not a shuffle.
And I think that the whole sort of just one of those the nuance of music kind of got fucked up with shuffle and
Agreed.
everyone just focusing on one song here, one song
Yeah,
there, and
yeah.
playlists. I mean, we made
Mhm.
mixtapes, of course, cassette tapes all the time. I mean,
Yep.
you know, our van was full of mixtapes on tour. I mean, it was the thing to do. It was great. And now Spotify does it for you. Awesome.
Right.
But
right.
but you know, putting out an album, it's like, well, this is how I want you to hear all the songs
Yeah.
in this
Mhm.
order, and they're deliberately that way. I mean, not every band needs to be, but
Oh,
certainly
like
for us. And
0 + 2 = 1 is one where, you know, the songs
Oh,
blend
guys.
into each other. It just isn't the same when they're individual tracks.
Yeah, yeah, it's
well,
true. I
yeah,
mean,
it's
go ahead.
no, just saying it's meant to be listened to as a piece. I mean,
Yeah.
even
Mhm.
in all No Means No, I think it's like, to me, it's meant to be listened to individually on headphones.
Right.
You know, it's kind of the way these songs are, the way they were presented. And that's not really a party rock album. I mean, some albums can be or whatever that, but you know, the approach from my perspective every single time is like, what is the experience of you or any one person listening to this by themselves, either on a stereo
Wow.
or on headphones, all in one go.
Yeah, I mean, I can vouch for that. My introduction to the band was No Means No Wrong in my friend's dorm room. He said, like, I'm gonna go score some weed. You sit on the floor. I'm turning out the lights. I'm putting on the headphones. Here's Wrong. Just listen to this whole fucking thing. And that was it. That was the end for me forever. So, you know, had it been just like, hey, listen to this one song or this other, it never. I mean, it might have taken, but not in the same way as listening to that front to back. So I get it. I've always been, Andy, you know, gave us a little insight into this when he was giving us his little, you know, he was giving us a kind of insight into all the songs that he was a part of. As we went through the first season and kind of talked about all the songs. But I've always been really fascinated by the sequencing and kind of the discussions that must have happened with you guys, because it's so fucking phenomenal. And I just wonder how much agreement or like stuff that just seemed obvious to you guys about what the sequencing was, or how many arguments and fights there might have been.
Yeah.
But it's so, of course, we only know what we got, so it seems perfect to me, but it seems very well crafted, and clearly you really care about it and what you just said. So
right.
I probably cared about it the most. And probably Rob cared about it the least. And then Andy was just in the middle somewhere.
Right.
Well, I think Andy was always pretty. Yeah, I shouldn't say that. I think he was also very, very conscious of the way songs rolled out and which songs would be there and on. Yeah, it was just a thing, and that's what I mean. It was kind of a little bit of a lost thing there for a while. I don't know. I don't know if people are again listening to whole albums. I know that Spotify, as they've what they changed something about that bands were being all pissed off that you could listen to their album on shuffle. Some about that they stopped doing that. That you have to ask it to do shuffle.
I think you're right. Like there was a period of time where you'd go into Spotify and that would be the default. It would come in on shuffle, and now it doesn't. So gross. I think that's right. Yeah.
And because people say that's not how I wanted my album to be listened to. It's in the wrong order. And then this album too. It's utterly deliberate the way what song comes next. And same as the next album. I've been bouncing songs around. I came up with, okay, that's it. 9 songs again, which I also think is a great number. It's either, on a vinyl, part 1 or part 2, but on a side, it's on a CD, it's like, the beginning, middle, and end. It's like, the divisible by 3. But
right, yeah.
But and then just yesterday, I changed my mind.
No kidding.
Now, so I mean, are these like gut checks for you, or do you have like, I'm not going to say it's a mathematical thing, but are you really analytical about that choice, or are these real gut checks for you in terms of what belongs where?
It's all just where the energy goes.
Okay.
And it's like it's no different to me than editing like a movie or a musical.
Exactly.
It's like, where do you want the audience to go?
Exactly.
How do you want to get them started, and where do you want them to go, and where do you want to drop them off?
Yeah.
And that's exactly, and the show was no different.
Right.
Like one of the beefs I had with Ford is he was always like, no, he wrote a new set for every show. When he played.
Okay.
It used to drive his other bandmates crazy,
to keep
right?
you guys
it's
interested.
Like, fuck, they have to keep looking at the set list because,
right,
what's next? What has he done? Oh, he threw this song in. Oh,
Isn't that to keep you guys interested in those, so you don't get like the
well, that was his whole idea. It's like, that's how you're fresh, that's how you stay fresh.
Yep.
It's like, well, okay, but
no
there's
one's
a
mixing
whole
up
other group
Chekhov.
of people. It's like, okay, you're fresh, but everyone in the audience is like, they want to go somewhere,
right?
And so you write a set, and we've been monkeying around with the set now since we started practicing, and it's changed a whole number of times trying to find the right pacing, and for that very reason. And I said right off the bat, okay, there's one rule: we're going to learn one set, and we're going to play that same set every night.
Oh my god!
It does not change unless something falls flat on its face.
I don't know any band that's ever done that. That's crazy.
Well, and I think one of the reasons to me that makes real sense with this band, with Dead Bob and No Means No, is that there is such a landscape to your songs. They do cover such a different territory. I'm not listening to a band where the songs are interchangeable and it's just a different tempo and a pace. There are real different feelings, different musical styles, just so much variety in them that sort of attention to detail and wanting to put them in a certain order makes way more sense for me than it does for other bands, where, not to be mean to other bands, but a lot of times you could just interchange them. It wouldn't really matter. The journey wouldn't change that much, but it does for No Means No. It certainly does for Dead Bob. There's so much variety and different landscapes that you color in that I can imagine. I can understand why that's so important and really valuable for that reason.
Oh, absolutely, and I've always felt that way very strongly. Well, like I said, like for me, the song orders and set orders, I was usually the most vocal and most adamant about how things would go together. And sometimes you'd argue this or that or the other thing, but it was always important to me. And but of course, the reality is you get out in front of people and you play, and that's when you start seeing, okay, what songs work better than others, and you like the way that maybe you didn't take the crowd where you thought you were going to. You're like, oh no, that's not working. The concert isn't moving in the direction we wanted to move. So you do a little shuffling. But once you settle in, if you're out doing, I don't know, 25 shows or something, once you settle in,
you'll find it.
You just stick to it,
and
then you don't think. You're not thinking about what's coming up next. You know what's coming up next.
You know it, and you're feeling it, right? Like that's what you guys always gave that in the live shows. You guys were really feeling what you were playing for us. You weren't just going through a list. So that totally makes sense. I mean, you don't fuck with the Chekhov play. You're not like, you know what, let's put Act 2 and Act 1. Let's just mix it up. It's like, no, man, that's not,
Yeah,
that's not how you do it.
And half of the songs you can't hear one without the other one, or you'll be discombobulated.
Right.
John, are there any songs you're looking forward to particularly playing live, or ones you think will go over really well or not go over well? Like, are they the same ones?
Sometimes you think the song is struggling the most ends up to be the best one. You just never know. In some songs you think like that just came together so great, so easy, and then you find after a while it's like, meh, it's not the most exciting of the bunch. So what am I looking forward to? One of you is
Yeah.
that's you know you know, I got to agree with you, Michelle. That's my personal favorite of it.
Well, good to hear. That's my favorite too. That song's
great.
incredible. Is that a Celtic? Matthew wrote this question, but I had the same question. There's like that Celtic bit in the middle. It sounds so Irish Celtic. It's fucking
God,
incredible.
I knew I should not have used that Irish bouzouki sound.
Yeah.
No, it's very much a little ditty there, a bit. Not
phenomenal.
Intentionally necessarily, but I was using the Irish bouzouki sound, so it's good.
Okay, but yeah, it just
whatever.
Oh, man.
You follow the music, not the other way around.
That's right. That song is fucking phenomenal. I mean, I am absolutely excited to see that live.
That's a doozy.
I'm sure it's going to be fun for you, like typical sort of John stuff where it's like the same little section, but it's going to be different each time, ever so slightly different each time. I'm really looking forward to that. And I got to ask you, will you please put just one little buzz roll fill in on the snare, just so in the Vancouver show, so I just know it's for me.
Okay, yeah, sure, absolutely. There's actually quite a bit of snare work. That song, of course, is Byron and me are both playing the snare. So that's one song that Byron gets on the snare drum for the whole song.
Oh, that's great.
Well, for when it's doubled up, which is most of it.
Right.
And when we were first learning that, we're jamming it out, and it's just impossible not to start jamming.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It's just impossible. Once another drummer gets going, then we got a drum circle.
That's exciting.
That's it. Do it.
Warning, drum circle. Yeah. And so when you say what am I looking forward to, I'm kind of wondering where that song will go. I've already decided I'm not going to start singing it right when it comes in like it does on the album.
Oh,
nice. I can't. I just fuck it up every time I try to jump in on the drums and sing. It just I'm going to fall flat in my face here. I got to just get going on the song.
Yeah.
Let it go around. Let it go around. Well, it's the kind of song too that live, if it goes on for 8 minutes, it's not a bad thing, because it's such a compelling rhythm and it's very dancey, and you just let that go for a while. And the way that guitar intro just goes and goes and goes is because I just let it go and go. It's like sometimes you write a song, you kind of have a cool rhythm, and you're so concerned about compacting your songs and into the sort of pop formulas and whatnot that sometimes a good riff just doesn't last long enough, and then you realize that some songs are just the whole song is one good riff, and that's why
you want to know that.
that's why it's a good song. I mean,
that's right.
And I'll tell you a little thing about that song is that was one of the ones that I was just started demoing 10 years ago when I was up here and upstairs here in the cabin. You all saw it. And what I would do to write songs sometimes is I would just start fishing through loops, Apple loops, working with Logic Pro. And I just came across that rhythm, which is some Brazilian loop or something, Brazilian percussion. Mm-hmm. And it was like, fuck, that's such a great snare rhythm. It's such a great, compelling snare rhythm. So I took that loop and then I just strung it out for 2 minutes, and then started.
So you sort of more grew it than wrote it.
Yeah, exactly. Didn't write that rhythm. I did not write that snare part. Shuffle. That snare part is a fucking stock loop. But what I did was I strung it out and then put the song on top of it. Like, okay, what musically will go over this and get into that groove. And that's how that whole song just evolved. It was from a fucking Apple loop.
Nice. Well, nice. An apple seed.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Yep.
And then I put my own drums on it and blah, 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 blah. And it's whatever. And the words came long afterwards. And actually the song, that chant that I'm one of many parts of one, I heard that on the radio. Some philosopher or something. Somebody I was listening to, and I said, "Wow, what a great phrase," it's a cool phrase, and it could be taken in a lot of directions lyrically or whatever.
That's right.
And but I had thought of that. I've got an entirely other demoed song that was written to be those words. And then I had this rhythm and this structure of the song, and I thought, oh, I'll just try to sing that over top of this.
Yeah.
And so the words all came long after the song was written.
I mean, it's a bit of a miracle, really, to me, just because the pace of that chorus in particular. It's a very meaningful phrase, of course, but the rhythm of it is so compelling as well. Just the sound of the rhythm of those words on their own, the way you layer them over the drums is it's so fucking perfect. What a great marriage. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, so I really hope that song grows live.
Yeah.
It can't not.
Half an hour of the set right there. That's what I do. Just fucking go.
Dance mix.
Dance mix, exactly. This is the dance break. Yeah, exactly.
Didn't John Lennon hit with that song, Whatever Gets You Through the Night? He heard that on the radio.
Was that right?
That line, Whatever Gets You Through the Night, or something like, it's all right. And he wrote a whole song just based on that one line from that lyric he heard on the radio.
Sometimes that's what happens.
Yeah. Whatever gets you.
These I tend to, songs just kind of go where they go, and I'm that's often how I write. I start like I think it was the Ford song. Those lyrics he wrote for a whole other song that I gave him. I gave him a song and he wrote lyrics for it. And I went, I didn't. I liked the lyrics, but they didn't seem to fit the music properly. And I had just written another song, and I went, wait a minute, these words fit perfectly to this kind of little Ramonesy punk rock thing I was jamming out. Okay. So he had no intention of writing those lyrics for that song. He wrote them for another one.
Nice.
Is emotional plasticine, is that Ford's lyrics? It seems such a Ford lyric to me.
That was one of my small edits, actually.
Interesting.
I changed a few of the words a little bit in that song when I tried to sing it, when I was singing it. And it's just a little bit of editing.
Cool.
The
cadence
that actual line you picked out, emotional plasticine, I threw that one in.
Plasticine.
Okay. Yeah. It definitely can tell it's one of the ones that Ford is involved in as a Ford Peer fan.
Oh yeah, I mean that's that was just a few lines I changed and changed the scanning a bit here and there. That's all Ford.
Yeah, and that song is That Was Too Easy, just for those who are following along.
That Was Too Easy.
Which is a
nice.
fucking great song. I mean, I am astonished as I am with most of the No Means No releases, just the variety of what we get on this album. It's phenomenal, and I'm sure that'll carry forward to the next album as well. It seems to be sort of
absolutely.
In your DNA.
The next album goes in a few odd directions.
Excellent.
Oh man,
super interesting.
Do you have instrumentals on that at all? I always loved
do.
your instrumentals.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's
an instrumental on the next album.
Oh, I love that.
And it's we'll see if you love this one.
Well,
I hope so.
If I don't.
I really like it. And it's kind of untouched. It's a demo, and that's it. It's done.
Oh, nice.
I didn't do anything. It's still this programmed drums.
Wow.
It's like, no, I can't improve this song.
Programmed drums.
I'm not going to put words to it. It's just got exactly the feel that I wanted, that I was going for, and it's really, it's not really electronic. It's sort of, but you'll hear it.
All right.
Jesus.
Looking forward to it.
God, now I can't wait.
Totes.
Well, before we dive into we've talked about No Means No a little bit. I have some more No Means No questions, of course, but Matthew, you had some good questions out here on some of the other songs. Do you have any of those other ones you want to pop out in them before we?
Oh, not really. And John's covered most of it. My only one that is whether your son Aiden played on No Tomorrows, according to the the credit sheet. Is there any chance that he might come out and play at the Vancouver show?
Oh.
I don't think so. No.
Okay.
Yeah, we haven't. But I did have I had an interesting idea. I hate to give it away, but because it would be a really fun surprise.
You could save it. Save it. Tell us after we could.
Well, now that you mentioned Aiden, Aiden is actually he's an actor, stage
Yep.
actor.
Yep.
And he's right now. They just doing another run of that production of Woman in the Woman in Black, which he did at the Jericho Art Center there last winter, and was the first real successful play he's been in. He actually got paid, for God's sake,
Nice.
Wow.
because they
look at
made
that.
enough money. And
cool.
the theater over in North Van just purchased it and is putting it on, of course, leading up to Halloween, right?
Right.
And so he's doing that right. He's probably what time is it? What's today?
18.
Today's Monday. No, they don't perform on Mondays.
Oh, okay.
And I'm going to go see him next Friday, actually.
Excellent.
Oh, fantastic.
But during the rehearsals, we're thinking of what No Means No songs we might throw in the set, and picking stuff, that might be cool to do. And Ford was like, well, we got to do a widget.
Oh yeah,
because
Jesus Christ.
Widget is like it's never been performed live. It was sort of an outtake that we threw on the album. It was an outtake.
Oh
It ended up on
my
Mr. Right,
God.
Mr. Wrong. That's right.
That's right.
It was an outtake from Mr. Happy, and it was really a fun song to do. It again, there's sort of lots of piano and just a bit of an odd musical sound, and we had no lyrics, and literally. We didn't know what to do right up until we're in the studio recording the thing, and no lyrics and not really any idea. And so I just picked up the service manual for the 2-inch deck that we were using, and I just opened it up. I just opened it up, and I'll just read this paragraph.
Holy
dramatic
shit.
reading.
And then and then I'll read another paragraph, and then Robbie went, "Okay, now you got to do this soliloquy from Macbeth or whatever."
It's from Macbeth, exactly. Yeah, that's fucking great.
And do a bit of a truncated version of that, and then boom, okay, there it is, done. Lyrics.
So fucking great.
It is
What's
very
the drawn
silly.
out words? What's the
But
drawn out
when
words?
Ford suggested doing the song, I went, wait a minute, yeah, we do that song. But when we get like we're on tour, maybe Aiden comes, he's like a roadie, it's like, yeah, come along, you can be the roadie and hang out, and that'd be a lot of fun. And says, okay, but and he'd dress up, Mario or something, with the overalls and be like the roadie, and that's what he does, his function on the tour is to be the roadie. But at one point, we get to that song, we get to that part, he just comes out on stage and does the whole soliloquy, the actual soliloquy.
Oh, cool.
Like we just stop, and he just comes out and does it.
Oh,
and then,
fucking make it happen.
And then walks off.
That is fantastic.
Now that's never happened at a punk rock show ever.
No
one has come out and done Shakespeare in the middle of a punk rock show.
That's
That is
wicked.
fucking Artaud right there, man. Theater of Cruelty. That is fucking
Holy
brilliant.
shit.
There would be a lot of head scratching, going like, "What the? What is this guy doing?"
Jordan will throw his bra up on the stage.
Oh, I will.
Like,
No, I had no idea Aiden was an actor. That's what I studied too. That's my gig.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He
great.
got his fine arts at UBC there, and
Nice.
And he's actually got it. He got one line in what's the show? It's a new Netflix show.
Whoa.
Yeah, he finally got in and got a line.
Whoa.
And he was laughing because I got the one line, but I ended up on the trailer.
Perfect.
Hey,
with Mark Hamill.
Nice.
Man. No, wait. So it's the new.
Wait, he's in Follow the House of Usher. Holy shit!
Yeah, Follow the House of
Holy
Usher.
shit.
That's it.
No.
That's
Damn,
a
I'm
great
watching that right
show.
now.
I gotta see where he's at. Yeah,
he's just a little bit part. He's like Mark Hamill's assistant or something, and he says something.
Jeez.
Yes, sir. It's like just a little
Oh,
bit.
that's fantastic.
But he
Wow.
was just laughing because he said, I don't know how, but he said, I didn't end up on the cutting room floor.
Oh, that's so
That's
great.
great.
No, but with Mark Hamill too. Jeez, and he's so
With Mark
good in
Hamill.
that too.
Oh, he's so good in that.
Yeah, and
legend.
Aiden said that Mark Hamill was a really nice guy.
Oh, I bet.
Oh, wicked. That's great.
He's
Yeah,
one of
he's
those
sad.
few old time actors that hasn't turned out to be entirely problematic. He just ends up still being a really nice guy in the end.
Yep.
Yeah. According to Aiden, he sat and chatted with him for a couple hours on the
that's
one day
great.
he was in doing his shoot. Said he was very
Is he your son?
very talkative,
Oh,
very
nice.
happy to chat.
Is he your son, the one that plays viola? What
Yes,
he
and
always
Aiden
viola?
Aiden plays viola, and guitar.
Yeah, I remember that. Yep.
And his younger brother Liam is also a very natural musician. Plays guitar, plays drums.
Strange.
He doesn't pursue it. So he should. I keep bugging them. They should be playing with his brother. Because Aiden's got, he's put out his own music and he plays with some folks in Vancouver.
Oh,
yeah, sometimes those bands with brothers work out. Okay.
Oh God.
Occasionally.
It's already been done, Dad. Jeez.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, Dad.
I think it would be pretty odd. It must feel weird as a kid to be like, well, I can't form a band. So my dad, my uncle did. I can't.
Well,
do that.
yes.
Oh, Jesus. So I have no means no questions. I don't know if anybody else has anything before we step in the Wayback Machine. But since we've got Mr. John right here, I certainly have a few things that I'd want to ask him. So, Strangey and Matthew, have you had anything else in the modern era that we want to cover?
I don't have the list of questions here, so you.
I wrote this kind of long one, and it's about John and living in Lund. And
do it. Yeah, let's dive into that. That was a great direction.
Yeah. So, John, I was just up in Sayward for a week working, and I got to talk to a bunch of North Islanders about music and how the demographics are changing up that way. And Cumberland's been a center of artsier types for a while. It seems like something similar is kind of happening in Powell River to a certain extent, as artsier types kind of can't afford to live in the big cities. And how do you see music evolving? I mean, doesn't seem like projects like Dead Bob could exist, like people in different places. And how do you see the effect of music as creative types are less able to exist in cities as venues close and basements become basement suites? But these other nuclei of creativity are seen popping up here and there.
I think often. I mean, I don't know. Who knows where things will go? I mean, things are so much different now. Even 10 years since I was out. I mean, things were changing, of course, in the 2000s, and the streaming of music and revenue sources for bands drying up that way, and then just more and more and more and more and more bands out there, and more the DIY. I mean, it just exploded with. Like, I've got Logic Pro on my computer. I've got a recording suite that would make recording studios in the 70s pale, right? The power that's right there. And of course with social media and how you need to promote yourself and how you can promote yourself. Things are pretty different now, and I'm just kind of really just playing catch up in a lot of ways. I haven't really paid a lot of attention, obviously, for 10 years. And everyone's like, being old school and things don't necessarily work the same way. They do. I mean, as they say, the more things change, the more they stay the same. But where is it going? Well, the price of gas changes how you tour.
Of course.
The cost of space. What have Japanese bands done for the last 30 years? Where do they practice? I don't know. They all live in closets.
Right.
Like, what do they do? Well, we're finding out what they did by figuring out how to do it. Yes, and of course, some, like small towns often are bastions of good music and good art because of just what you said. They're affordable. And now it's like even places like Powell River aren't affordable. I mean, it's the same as everywhere else. There's a lack of places to live, and so prices are through the roof. So it's really hard. Now, how is that going to affect music? It's hard to say. Well, a lot of people play in living rooms. A lot of people doing solo music. You just have to get in a car with your guitar or whatever, and you can afford to be on tour, and you don't need hundreds or thousands of people out to shows. This is the thing. Dead Bob is a 5-piece. It's like this is one of the issues that we're dealing with of getting out on the road is how do we afford to get out on the road?
Right. Right.
What do the ticket prices have to be just to cover costs? And we can't cover costs. We're not 20 years old. We're not going out for an adventure.
Right.
We're going out because we're professional musicians and we have this project. And if we don't earn any money, we can't do it.
Right.
Right.
So, how music is going to change. I don't know. I don't know how young people will tackle these issues and problems, or what they'll do. I know that kids want to go hear loud music again. So that's
They sure
everyone keeps telling me that. Like,
Yeah.
shows are doing well. Rock and roll is doing well. People want to go out and be in the mosh pit and be slamming into each other. They had 2 or 3 years of that prime time, stolen from them.
Yeah.
Well, stolen, maybe a harsh word, but removed.
Excised.
And now they want to get out there, right? So in some respects, being a rock and roll band is maybe a good thing at this point. People are a little tired of clubs and club music, and but by the same stretch, there's just so many bands now. It's just packed. The tours are, you got to stand out somehow. So I think I think in one way you're going to have more of that DIY, more underground shows. The more the Live Nations of the world controlling the clubs, the less independent clubs there are, the more it gets pushed underground, and you'll probably find the more interesting music in that underground. It always is.
Yeah.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
But where does music go? I mean, like, Robbie got entirely tired of guitar-based rock and roll music, and he got completely absorbed into electronic music and dubstep and all that sort of stuff, because for him it was the only thing really new.
Right.
So what's new? What's going to be new? I mean, guitar music. I mean, I'm doing it. I'm not doing anything new here. Musically, I'm doing my own. I mean, as they say, it's every song. Has already been written. It's just it hasn't been written by you.
Right.
That's kind of what that's what I'm doing. Like, I'm not doing anything really terribly experimental, except that I don't. I bounce around with the genres and the instrumentation and the energy levels, and it's like, it's not kind of cookie cutter music, but it's not new. So what is going to be new? Maybe that's what's new again. That visceral, I want to be 5 feet away from you when I hear you sing and play, and I don't want to be You can, certainly not judging by these huge, massive, successful festivals and shows that are going on, where you're the dot at the the back of 18,000 people. But maybe it's just basement shows, small clubs, under the radar type stuff, that will flourish again, or be that way. Punk rock was certainly that way. A lot of Rent the Hall,
Yeah.
because the commercial clubs just didn't want it. At least not, everywhere.
Right.
So it's hard for me to answer that question. Where is things going? Yeah, maybe they're going to Sayward.
It's affordable there.
Yeah, it's affordable there. You have to go further and further out these days. But I think it is different now, though. I mean, just the incredibly short span of time where living has become a real challenge. I saw a Thai tribe on Facebook. This person basically just, saying, "Fuck you for moving to Powell River. I can't live anywhere because you moved here along with everyone else that's moved here, and there's no place to live, and I can't afford to live, and now I'm homeless in my own town."
Oh no!
Fuck.
And it's kind of harsh. It's like, well, okay, that's not really this person's fault, because they moved here. It's not their fault. The fact that this town has got its head up its ass and hasn't been building, there's so many people in this town that just put their head in the ground and pretend no one's coming and want to keep it that way.
Right.
Sure. And that's just, you can't hide from the world. I mean, and people are in this town hiding from the world, literally.
Right.
So, on one hand, it's pretty harsh to, sort of lay into somebody just because they moved here. It's not their fault. There's a lot of things going on in this world that are, putting a lot of pressure on people.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I think it's a little different now.
As it is, yeah. And as hard as it is, those are some of the times when the best, new, most authentic art comes out, right? When those pressures start to mount. And I think you kind of hit it too, where there's a new pressure, I think, building and pointing towards these sort of smaller venues and this sort of live experience, both in music. I think even theater will see an uptick because fucking AI and the ability to easily, cheaply make fucking entertainment is going to be so at the fingertips of fucking everybody, if not the corporations, that the promise of a live experience of sweating right next to somebody and seeing someone sweat right in front of you will, I hope, take on a different character. That's my hope anyway, in my less apocalyptic moments, that there will be. And I see it in the kids. I've got my son's best friend, his younger brother, is now doing a punk band, is playing at the Phoenix. You guys have played at the Phoenix, and they fucking rule. They're only doing covers right now, but they rule. And I go there and I see the kids.
Great.
The kids are loving it. They're totally huge mosh pit, just going crazy, because they're really able to connect and see these people, really putting it all out there on the stage. And I haven't felt that in a long time, right? I haven't seen, I mean, granted, I'm not out there looking for mosh pits all the time, but it felt like it felt good to see the kids really going back to that route. So who knows?
Yeah. I think punk rock, I mean, its longevity is that it's it is kind of tribal in a way, and it's not so, you're not disconnected like you are at a Taylor Swift show or something.
Exactly.
But you're also not, disconnected because you're seated at a theater listening to serious music.
Right.
Or it's not like, you're not disconnected because, you're at a rock show where everybody's just fucking drunk and stoned out of their minds and not even, whatever, the music's not important. Punk rock has always been like, the music is the focus, but the energy is why you're there. And that energy is so much more enjoyable when you're sharing it. Right. And you're all sharing it for the same reason. And certainly 40 years ago, that was the feeling. It's not just, you're not just there because that's where the party is. You're there because you're part of a group of people that all want to be there and go nuts.
Yeah.
And they all go nuts for the same reason. There's a common mentality. It's not just to party. I mean, it is, but it's, you know what I mean?
I do know what you mean. Well. Yeah, there's like a circuit, right? There's the kind of circuit that's made, the energy exchange between the audience and the performers with punk. And I would say, having, looking back to the shows of seeing No Means No, particularly with No Means No, that you don't get with a lot of other kind of bands, right?
Exactly. I think you hit the nail on the head, Eric, in the sense that with punk rock, the band and the audience were kind of the same thing. It was one thing, right?
Yeah.
That it wasn't there was a separation, of course, but not as dramatic a separation there is with so much other music.
Yeah.
I mean, grassroots, bluegrass, country, blues has the same thing.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. It's that they have that same thing. And punk rock does, but punk rock is, has all the, teenage male testosterone,
right,
fueling it like a rocket.
Yes.
So there's that, right?
Yeah.
So to me, it's totally not surprising that it just punk rock never dies.
And it never dies, and it keeps coming back.
Yeah, it keeps coming back more, and in a way that other genres haven't really done. They've kind of had their day, and then they don't. And
that's true. That's true.
They exist in a different world. I mean, you go to a jazz show and people go, or whatever kind of show, like I say, and they still thrive and people still love them, but they're there for a different reason. But it's that youthful energy of punk rock is what keeps, I guess, rock and roll of all things.
There's something so essential. Along. There's something so essential in what is punk, right? And in that experience of a live thing that, I mean, it could change here and there, but I think you're right. It does keep coming back to that circuit. It keeps coming back to that source because it's just fucking powerful. It's primal.
Yeah.
And, there can be iterations off of it, but I think it will keep circling back.
I keep finding
it's just not mindless. I mean, it can be, but it's not. I mean, punk rock is also associated just with community and
totally.
And more so than, whatever kind of, glam rock. ever was. I mean, how much, okay, it was a lot of rock and glam rock, but glam rock.
No, and
Can't say that too fast too many times.
Grandma rock.
Glamour rock. That's it. Remember Grammar rock?
Grammar rock, of course. Yeah. Saturday morning cartoons.
Very
Great.
precise.
Oh yeah, awesome.
I mean, it makes me think of the venue here, the famous Phoenix Theater, right? Which is, had its ups and downs, but the community has consistently rallied around it because it has this. It's a place for the youth in a very real way, not as a glorified sort of, well, it's a youth center, but we're going to make it this or that. It's like, no, it's always been really, really that the ownership has really been committed to making it about the youth. And so the bands that play there are those bands that directly connect with the audience and are really trying to have that live circuit. And so that's where the kids go. Right. And there's just such a brilliant, beautiful community around that place.
Oh, man.
And I'm so grateful for it.
We got to play there with Victim's family.
Yes,
So
that's my dream.
And we can all pretend we're like 20 years old again.
Hey!
Exactly. I'll do my best to get all the kids
stage.
there.
That's the other thing about coming back and playing music again. Is like, I'm not really, attracted to kind of the geriatric punk rock circuit, the reliving the glory days and playing all those old songs from 40 years ago. It's like, I of course I am of that generation, right?
Right.
But for me, I just, the way I want to get out there and the way I want to play is, this is new music. This is, of course I'm, this is the way I've always written. I'm not doing anything different than I did before. I write exactly the same way, except technology has given me a leg up here, but
right.
Sure.
I'm not really doing much different than I did before, but it's new. And I'm not trying to be No Means No from the 80s. Sure, I might play some of those songs still, but that's not the point. And that's like, hey, let's try to resurrect No Means No in kind of a not the same way.
Right. Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, it's awesome.
So when I say, let's go and play the Phoenix Theater and pretend we're 20, it's like, I don't want to pretend I'm 20.
No.
I don't think anybody could do that.
Exactly. That's not me anymore.
No.
But
right.
That's that. I'm not doing anything different than I was then.
Right.
Yeah. Well, you
that's
can find that energy.
Playing music. I'm playing it the same way. I'm just better at it.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, awesome. And that's like, I saw Victim's Family there not too long ago. They played, I don't know, it was about 6 months ago, maybe a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's the same sort of thing, right? And the crowd there were a lot of kids, and there were a lot of, 50-year-old dads like me standing a little bit farther back from the pit than we might have in the old days. But there were still a lot of guys in the pit, a lot of kids in the pit, and it was great to see it. In a way, because of the age of punk now, it can be a more multi-generational experience than it might have been back in the day when there weren't so many olds in it, and now there are going to be a bunch of us olds coming to see it. But I was able to share that energy and experience with the kids in a way that I could give two shits about Taylor Swift or any of these other places.
Right.
It's not that there aren't other bands I enjoy seeing and that have a great experience, but there's something about that energy of a punk show, a rock show, that's just different. So I guess my short little thing there is, get your ass to the Phoenix. It's going to be great.
And people who say there's no good music these days are not paying attention.
No. Yeah, exactly. They're stuck on Spotify Shuffle. That's their problem.
Right. Yeah, well, I'm kind of, like I say, I've had to kind of poke my nose back into everything here, and people are talking about this band and that band, and I never heard them, and it's like, now I'm like, oh, okay, they mentioned this band, I'm going to check them out, which is what Spotify, of course, is great for. It's so easy to find people and listen to them. Yeah. Yeah. And it's like heard some pretty interesting stuff, and definitely people are, I think one man I just heard, I never heard before, was the, the OCs?
Yeah.
I don't know.
The OCs?
Matthew
What are
might
they?
know who
The OCs.
The OCs.
OCs.
Do you know them? Yeah, their albums.
Matthew might.
Not super familiar, but I have heard them for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and
pop music.
Yeah, the reason being is I had this artist from Utah who drew the couch guy, you know, for the poster.
Oh,
Have you
yeah.
seen the poster? He did that picture because he reached out to me right away. So Bed Bob comes out and says, "Hey, I do posters and album covers and stuff. I'd really love to do something for you. A big fan of No Means No, blah blah blah." I looked at his stuff and it was like, oh, it's pretty cool. It's kind of grim and funny. It kind of had a feel that I like, grim and funny.
Yeah.
Right.
And then literally I just saw an album cover on Spotify. I went, hey, that's the same dude. That's got to be the same guy. It's gotta be the same guy. And it was like, who's the band? The OCs. And I listened to it and it's like, yeah, this is pretty fucking good. It's kind of really, and I listened to a couple of their albums and I'm certainly can't list them off by heart. And they are different from album to album a little bit. I think they've had some different lineups.
Mm-hmm.
But this newest one, I guess it's the newest one, 2022 or something. It's like it kind of reminded me a bit of Devo and old punk rock, and it sounded great.
Nice.
And I would never have known anything about them except I
right
happened to
in a roundabout way.
Yeah, a roundabout way.
Yeah.
And what was it? Oh God, here I go. See, the problem is I can never remember anything.
Have you
a band
heard
from
Black
Cleveland.
Midi,
It's a band
John?
from Cleveland. It's like a cello player and an opera singer and a drummer.
What?
And they do like metal.
Oh man.
What?
Lung.
Holy
That's
shit.
it. Lung.
Lung.
That's their name.
Lung. How about
Lung.
that? I'll have to check
You
that
should
out.
bring them into your hometown there, John. Have Lung live in
Yeah.
Lund.
Lung and Lund.
It was some name like this. Oh, you what kind of band you want to tour with? I'm working with a manager in Canada. Just trying to think about getting out there. He said, yeah, you could, you go with a band like Lung. Lung, they're awesome. Have you ever heard of them?
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'll check them out. And I was
Wow.
like, wow, that's really, it's kind of a shtick.
Yeah.
But they do it really well. It's kind of cool. And it's not derivative, and it's metal in a way, but you know what I mean? It's like, okay, this is good, interesting music. People putting a lot of energy into this.
Yeah.
And what's the other one? War on Women. I just heard they were pretty good. And, anyway, I'm starting to hear music that because I never paid a lot of attention, and that's the thing of, oh, let's listen to some music. What do you want to listen to? I don't know.
Yeah, I have that same problem. Yeah. Matthew's really good about.
I was going to say Matthew's a great
bands.
curator.
He is, and he's on the website or on the Facebook groups. Like he's put a lot of interesting bands on there. One I like is Black Midi. Have you heard of Black Midi?
They're pretty great.
Yeah,
no.
The drummer for Black Midi, John. Like that's one of the only contemporary bands that I would say comes anywhere close to my opinion of your
the drummer's exceptional.
Yeah. What do they call Black what?
Black Midi. MIDI.
Mm-hmm.
Black Midi. I like the name.
Yeah.
No, they're phenomenal.
No, they're super cool.
I'll check them out. See this? I was always this way. Even when I was back in the kid, everyone else had the record collections. My brother, of course. I just heard what everyone else was listening to.
Yeah.
And
that's what he said.
And I was just introduced by other people that were paying attention.
Mm-hmm.
And so, it's the same now. It's like, oh, okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean...
Hey, I got to ask a weird question. Should we see if John wants to go tinkle or anything like that? We've been on for an hour and 45 minutes.
No, it's getting
Are you
on
okay,
and on
John?
here, isn't it?
I know we don't want to eat up your data, so we'll fast track the rest of this.
Yeah, maybe you wanted to talk a little bit about No Means No, and actually, I'm going to take 1 second because my beer ran out.
Go
fill up or empty out or whatever you got to do.
I'm fine. I'll be right back.
All right.
I can just talk about the OCs a little bit. I don't know them all that well. I said they're maybe more poppy, but yeah, lots of albums, and they're all spelled differently. Sometimes it's OCS, sometimes it's OHSEES, sometimes it's the OH space.
Oh, that's clever.
Talk about fucking up the algorithm. I love
sometimes
it.
Sometimes just
great.
as OC is OSEES, and I don't know whether these are different lineups or whatever, but looks like about 25 albums, 30 albums going back to the early 2000s. Yeah.
Almost.
Wow.
How about that?
I just refilling my beer.
Excellent.
No worries. Yeah.
From the keg.
I'm back.
All right. So I'll speed run some of these. You don't have to. You can answer as briefly as you want.
Oh, the speed round. Okay.
It's not speed round necessarily, but it's just that. So I'll say that to me, John, one of the things that I think I've enjoyed most about doing this podcast and diving so deeply into each of these songs, because we've all been fans forever. I've been fans since, for me, it seems like forever, back in 89, I guess, 90, which now seems like forever.
Yeah.
Back
years
back
ago.
then, and you guys were always pretty cagey in a certain way. There was no social media or anything, not a lot of discussion in the interviews of who was doing what in what songs. And so we were always having to guess like who was writing the songs, who was, singing on some of them even back then, who was playing. I think now that we know more, I've been astounded at at how much composition you were doing. You always get talked about as one of the best drummers in the world, probably, but certainly in all of punk rock. And yet you're also like a fucking brilliant compositionalist, and the number of absolute bangers and just prog punk masterpieces that you're responsible for is astounding. I'm wondering if there's any of the songs in the catalog that you think people would be surprised that you were the composer for.
I don't know. I
stumped him.
What? Well, who knows what surprises anyone now these days?
I know that's a fair point, and it's a dumb question. Underlying that question is, I'm just astounded at how many of them.
Well, why don't you?
I mean, like hearing Andy talk to, he kind of, a lot of this kind of comes from Andy kind of filling us in on some of the backstories of some of these songs, and hearing how you would pass him and John these piano, you'd orchestrate Obsessed or something on piano and be like, here, learn this. It'd be like, fuck you. How am I going to learn this on guitar and bass?
My fingers
and I haven't stopped. Now I'm fucking myself over.
Yeah. Now you're doing
Why did I write this? I can't play it. God damn it.
Yeah, but it's been amazing to just sort of realize how much of the sound is really it's responsible. You're all responsible for it, of course, but how much of the composition was really you? And I don't know, back in the day. Now I think you do, but back in the day, that people gave you enough credit for that. So that's just been a fucking joy, and I don't think we ever need it, but it's certainly one of the things we try to do as we go through the catalog. Who do you think, as we're talking about a song, who do you think wrote this one? What was
John
do you think this is a John song? But yeah, it's pretty incredible. And I think one of the things that tied into that you mentioned was that a lot of the songs came off of you writing the music and then Rob writing the lyrics, which is really interesting because there's something about No Means No songs that's so, I often kind of say they're kind of holographic. Everything plays so well together. The music, the lyrics, it all feels like it's of a piece and not one thing tacked onto the other. I always sort of mythologize that as well. You're brothers. And I think Rob, he didn't demythologize that for us, but he sort of recontextualized your relationship as brothers in a way. But how do you guys, again, this is a stupid question, but how the fuck did you guys pull that off? That you guys would have a song that sounds so everything almost written at the same time because it works so perfectly. And yet it sounds like that's not necessarily often what would happen. It sounds like maybe you would put something forward or someone else would put something forward and then lyrics and other parts would be written afterwards.
Oh, well, certainly with the songs that I was writing that I just, I've never been a prolific lyricist. So a lot of songs Robbie wrote himself, of course, music and lyrics. And, but then I would arrange the drums for it and not necessarily, I would just do it the way I thought the drumming should go. So it was always sort of a working together with the arrangement of the song. And then, yes, I would write music, but, we would jam these songs and start learning them. And the vocals, he would then, I don't know exactly his processes for every song, but the music and the arrangement would sort of, give him an idea of what the song should be about, or give him an idea of the feeling of what the words would be. And like Can't Stop Talking, he was like, I wrote that, and then he wrote the words for that one. And he said, yeah, it's just that when he listened to the demo, Can't Stop Talking just popped into his head.
Wow.
So, and then he just took it from there.
Wow.
And it's often just like I said before, I let them you follow the music,
Right.
not the other way
Mhm.
around.
Right.
And yeah, there was just a really good synchronicity between my
Yeah.
brother and I. We both kind of played the same way, but from two different angles, from a different
Right.
point of view. But it was always the same energy, and how to drive home that energy, to drive home the feeling. I knew how to drive home the feeling that he was expressing. I knew how to do that.
Right.
And and so he could pick up on the energy. I think he just picked up on the energy of what I was writing. And it'd be this weird keyboard sound, but it's like no, you just got to imagine it with guitars. And okay, in my head it's a all guitars and rock song, right? So it just they had to get introduced to the sound and the feel. Yeah, and then he would just find some inspiration there and do some writing. I mean, who knows where things pop into your head, where it comes from.
Right.
But yeah, there was, and that was the other kind of, thank you very much for your compliments on my writing. But that was a thing too. It's like a lot of music and not a lot of lyrics, and putting lyrics, having to write more lyric wise. I mean, I just hit brick walls all the time. It doesn't come out, and it fits and starts, and you have to force yourself to put words to the page sometimes.
Yeah, that
so
must
that's
be
a challenge for me.
I was going to say a totally different experience with Dead Bob, right? Like you're the whole enchilada there. So you've got
pretty much,
yeah,
but
pretty
now
much.
I'm leaning harder on, like, Ford, for instance, has written.
Good.
Yeah, he wrote
Give it all the
that
pressure.
one song, and there's probably 3 more on the next album that certainly 2 that he's written the lyrics for, and
Great.
probably a third. So yeah, because he's a very prolific writer too.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, right.
It just oozes out of the guy.
Yeah,
He's
and
so
in what I've discovered, I think, about myself as a musician, that I'm really an arranger. That's really what I am, more so than anything else musically. I mean, I can play the drums, I can perform, and I can write music. But what I really like to do, is arrange music, and much to the chagrin of some of the songwriters,
like when
I'm changing their songs, like, no, I think we should do this. Why are you putting horns on this thing? Well, because so it can be frustrating. Like I say, it's like I kind of taken liberties, like with Byron's song too. Like Byron wrote the words to "Just Breathe."
Oh, okay, shit.
In fact, he wrote a lot of that song, most of that song. But I changed it so much that it's kind of a 50-50 co-write, because I literally just tore a song apart and put it back together again.
I hope
but
he was okay with that.
Yeah, he seemed to be all right with it. In the end, went, wow, that sounds better. He was happy.
Nice.
That's a pretty
he
good
just had a
Byron.
demo. He had a demo, and that opening riff, that fade in of the guitar on the top of he had that. That was like a bridge in his song.
Oh shit!
And when I listened to the demo, I went, "That's the song. That's the song right there. That bridge. It wasn't, it wasn't really a bridge. It was kind of the verse, and the verses were kind of his choruses, and it was like, no, it's the other way around. I mean, definitely, this song was the other way around in my head. And at the same time, my partner at the bar and my good friend in Quebec, Isaac Tremblay, he was. They had a contest to write a jingle for his beer, for the Pouza Fest, for the Pouza Fest, and it's a campaign. So he said, "John, you write something, and submit it." And
did
you?
I
said, sure. And I had just started working on Byron's song, and I listened to that intro, and I had already decided that I want to rearrange this song. And I took that intro, and the reason why that song fades in, because that's what I did for the commercial.
Oh, no.
I took that song and faded it in, and it comes up to the big build up, and then it's like, Le Trou du Diable, LCD, blah, blah, blah. And it was all over in 30 seconds.
Oh, that kicks ass.
Wow.
And then I just went back to okay, that's how the song's going to start.
Nice.
Very
Without
cool.
the beer references.
Without the beer references. Yeah, that's fucking great.
But yeah, I really, when you say was Byron all right with that, I was like, I was kind of like, okay, well, I kind of changed the words and I kind of rearranged this whole thing. What do you think? And because that's that's the arranger or the producer in me,
right?
I listen to this and this is a great song. You just got it backwards.
What was it Rob said?
Call it the
What was the
inversives.
song? It was it was too long.
Oh, he was talking about Joyful Reunion and how you forced him to cut out a bunch of it because it's too long. He's like, but I want to say the rest of this. But turns out you were right.
No.
Yeah. No, you've done it now. Now it's wearing out its welcome.
Yeah.
Well, did you ever hear my remix of Ghosts?
Yes.
Oh,
that live performance, first of all, is incredible. And the Ghost of Time is incredible. Yeah.
And that's the same thing. I just did that. I was in the same time I was doing all these other demos and fucking around. It's like, you know what? This song got way too bloated. I want to just arrange it the way I just, again, it's like the whole song is really that riff. And the whole middle part, it's great. It's good lyrics and whatnot, but it just kind of was heavy.
That drum shuffle, man. Oh, my God.
Oh, yeah,
the beginning of that song is some of the beginning of Ghosts that you turn into Ghosts of Time is some of my most favorite music you guys ever wrote. That drum shuffle in the beginning of that is unfucking real.
Well, thank you very much. And that's kind of what I was thinking, that's the song right there.
I love that so much.
Again, I mentioned this about 2 hours ago. Sometimes it's just that riff.
Right.
And that's it.
Mm-hmm. Right.
The shuffle.
You don't need to go really, you don't have to stray too far.
Right.
And I felt the same way. I was like, really, I really like that riff. And then the song in the end was good, but we never really played it live. It just got too ponderous. And for a show, it just brought the energy down.
Sure.
Yeah.
And so I just did it for my own.
Oh, that's so hard.
Pet project and cut it, and I deliberately didn't cut it that well, so it sounds absolutely like cut. and then I just put a synthesizer over the whole thing.
It's phenomenal.
Well,
I love it.
But it was fun. It was fun cutting up Rob's lyrics and trying to digest it,
Right.
Like actually kind of give it a different meaning. But taking just his vocals and cutting them into little bits and digesting the whole song. Yeah, I was really happy. I was thinking of releasing that. I know Chedsy put it out on the website or something.
Yeah,
You're talking about Ghosts of Time, right?
Yeah,
Ghosts of Time. Yeah,
the actual version that
I never saw
that's
that
not just the live
video.
version, right? We've only seen that. I think I've only ever seen the live version.
Yeah, that video.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'll probably put that out.
We'll see. Yeah.
Yes, please.
Well, listen, John, I think that's a good full circle moment to say we've taken 2 hours of your time, which I cannot thank you enough for that.
Yes.
And coming back to full circle with this idea of the riff being key. I don't know for me that I'm going to be able to get up to Canada, even though I'm trying. I know these fuckers will probably get to see at least 1 or 2 shows. For everyone else who has any possible way of getting up there, go fucking see these shows. Are you kidding me? And then the rest of us will just do whatever sort of black magic we can to help make that happen.
Like I say, we're trying to make plans for next year, and I was talking to Tim. I talked to him on time to time.
Tim Soylent?
Yeah, and it's like, I'd love to do some shows with Victim's Family. Of course, he has not a lot of time in the year to do things like that, but first thing next year, really, like I was saying before, if we're going to go anywhere, the direction would be south. So
excellent.
We have to sort out things like, how we're going to get our paperwork and all that for the border.
That bullshit.
I haven't been a member of the union. Up in Canada, everybody has to join the AFM, the American Federation of Musicians, in order to get sponsored. So you can get your P2s and cross the border and play.
Oh, shit.
Otherwise, it's hugely time-consuming and fucking expensive. But through the union, as their sponsor, that's kind of the tried and true way of getting your paperwork done at a reasonable cost in a reasonable period of time. But like I say, these time periods are like everything else, the U.S. government now is like, takes a lot longer to get shit done, and it's just not quite
God damn it.
as easy it was as it was
No.
30 years ago.
I know someone with an Airstream. Let's just get this shit done here.
Yeah, if they can Airstream them right through the bureaucracy,
That's
then
right.
we'll be in good shape.
Damn it.
Well, yeah, I really hope that everything goes well in November, and that we see ourselves coming down to California.
Very
And
good.
There's,
so.
the idea maybe is to get out to South by Southwest, which is
sweet.
Which is, I think, the second week of March.
Yeah, it's a good goal. Good fucking goal.
Okay.
That's
okay.
great.
And I know that the fella I've been working with, a guy named James McLean, who I met in like 1985, in our first tour out to Ontario, in London, Ontario. He was the drummer for a punk rock band called October Crisis.
Oh yeah,
He
nice.
played a couple shows, slept on his couch, kind of thing, and saw him a couple times after that. Then he moved off to Montreal, and the band broke up. He wasn't playing anymore, and got into booking and managing, and now he's been doing that all his life. And I just reconnected with him, and
nice,
still the same guy he was. Very nice man, he works for quite a large booking and management company called Atomic Music Group. They got lots of rap and country and stuff like that down in the States, but he's the president of the Canadian division of that company.
Hey,
nice.
There you go.
I just went straight to the top.
Straight to the top. Pull those
Talk
strings.
to the boss.
That's right.
And anyway, so they got their own stage there.
Oh wow.
They got their own shit down at that South by Southwest.
Oh nice.
And I think DOA is also going to be down there because they got a documentary movie airing this year there. Maybe we'll come down and play some shows with DOA too.
Oh man, they're coming here. They're coming here November 5th. I'm going. I was hoping you guys could tag along with them.
Yeah,
but I know that's pretty soon.
But yeah, they. I don't know if they're going to be playing shows to get down to South by Southwest, but I think Joe is going to be there anyway. I don't know. We'll see.
I hope so.
See if we can make something happen.
Yeah,
that's
great.
Excellent.
That's great. Well, John, thank you very much again. Super, super stoked to have you on. Incredibly excited that there's material for the new album in the can, and we'll all eagerly await that.
Yeah,
sure.
now it's artwork, and it's
now
always
it's
like artwork. Yeah. You always got to start your artwork long before you even begin writing an album. It's like, that's right. The artwork takes forever. Writing the album is snap. It's like, what are we going to put on the cover?
Oh, big decisions. Well,
yep.
Well, I know many of us are hoping that we'll get to see you. It sounds like many of us will, which we're very excited about. Thanks so much for all the fucking music over the years, and how thrilled we are that you're making incredible new music. That's a big gift for all of us.
Well, yes, thank you very much. Thanks for all your kind words and for enjoying it. Absolutely. I did, and absolutely. Now I'm gonna go out there and try to enjoy it some more.
Excellent.
Oh,
very good.
We're waiting.
We're gonna pull the kids in our wake and make sure that they all discover not only your new stuff.
We're all middle aged. We have
too.
A little bit of disposable income.
Exactly.
Yeah. And we want to give it to you.
That's right. Spread the wealth.
Serious.
All right,
everybody. Thank you very much,
everybody.
And John, I'm going to ask you to not hang up quite yet. I'm going to stop the podcast, but I got to make sure that your shit gets uploaded, or else this whole interview.
Oh yes, of course, yes, of course.
But for everybody else, I'm going to say, go ahead and shut off the podcast. We're done with you, and you can all just,
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and hopefully you can come and visit us in Lund here again.
Yeah. Oh, fuck! I would love that. I would love that.
Yeah.
And for the rest of you out there, you know what to do. Just go ahead and fuck off.